Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, there's a series of three dreams, and they connect energetic places like Glastonbury, secret classes, and filing. So let's see what the relationship between these these three different areas actually means. The In the first dream, the dreamer reports that he and his wife bumped into a friend, and the wife inquired whether the this friend actually still lived in the next to an old apartment of theirs. And the wife and the friend made plans to go to Glastonbury together. That's the end of the first dream. Dream number two, the dreamer reports that school was closed because of lockdown. But for whatever reason, the dreamer's wife sneaked into the school with their two sons and hid in the corner of the school hall. Um, well, hiding in this spot in the school hall, they did some schoolwork together. Now, the school secretary knew that they were there because the youngest child had been apparently chewing or nibbling on door handles. So they must have been wet or had teeth marks or something. So the secretary informed the wife that they needed to get out of the building before security was called to eject them. And there ends the third dream. I mean, the second dream, rather. In the third dream, the dreamer reports that they were filing or organizing dreams, and then suddenly the dream changed and there was filing and organizing masks, and the dream ends there. So what is going on with these three dreams? Well, let's break them down and see what information they might contain. And in the first dream, the dreamer and the his wife meet up with a friend, and it's interestingly enough, it's well, may or maybe not. The wife inquires whether the friend is still living near their old apartment. Now, and then they make plans to go to Glastonbury, and I'll come back to Glastonbury in a moment. But my question to the dreamer here is this an actual friend in waking life? And people do, as I'm always saying, people aren't necessarily themselves in a dream. So if this person actually exists in waking life, what may she represent to the dreamer? Now, the interestingly enough, the friend is referred to by name, but the wife is not, which may just be convention. She's my wife, therefore I don't have to give her her name. But it's interesting here that the friend has been named, but the wife is not. She's just a role rather than a person. Um, but what, in the context of the dream, what does the wife, named or unnamed, represent for the dreamer? Again, she may be herself in this dream, but she will often not be herself, but represent some aspect of the dreamer. So, what does she represent for the dreamer? Now, the wife and friend make these plans to go to Glastonbury. And for people who may or may not know about Glastonbury, there's two aspects of Glastonbury. One is the well-known festival where stars from all over the world come and um, perform in this huge field in the western part of the UK. And it's several days of mud and mayhem and lots of good music. But that's been canceled again because of COVID concerns. So there's the festival aspect of Glastonbury, but Glastonbury has also been known in New Age circles in particular as an ancient site, power site. Several energy lines or ley lines intersect there. There's also a sacred well there. And I know from experience, uh, being at Glastonbury and walking around the tour, that it does seem to have a very, very special energy. So it's also a sacred site and a spiritual center. So there, I don't know for the dreamer which aspect of Glastonbury is significant for the dreamer, but it can either be a place where you have a lot of fun and get drunk and get a little bit crazy and listen to some music, or it can be a place of peace and quiet and spirituality. um the two women in and of themselves, again, they don't necessarily represent themselves but some aspect of the dreamer, and I wonder if they are maybe two different or slight complementary aspects of the anima or inner female in the dreamer. You have the person that in the form of the wife, and then another person, another female, in the form of a friend. And but either or both indicate connection, um, relationship. And I just wonder if there's some aspect of these two women is an indication to the dreamer to look at relationships. Now, moving on to the second dream, the school is closed because of COVID. We were on lockdown, so this is a very direct reference to things that are happening in current waking life. And dreams do that. They act as a smokestack, giving voice, if you will, to the stresses and concerns that we may or may not actually be expressing or able to dissipate and diffuse in waking life. So, but I would ask here, what does the lockdown actually represent for the dreamer, and particularly with regard to children, since it was the children who are being sneaked into school to learn. And the school secretary was cottoned on to the fact that the wife and children were in the building because the younger child, the toddler, was mouthing or putting their hands all over the door handles and leaving a trail. Now, there's an interesting um, uh, take that one can have on this, particularly with regard to the children. Now, children, especially young children, toddlers, they put everything in their mouths because they're feeding their brains through their senses, through their hands, through their mouths, through, is it good to eat? But the implication here is of twofold. One, that children learn by observation. So it behooves parents to think carefully and act and speak carefully around their children, because their children are sponges absorbing the silent messages that we pass on. Um, on the other hand, they're in a school, you're talking about formal education and learning to spout the party lines of various places and traditions and all the rest of it. But the real lessons that we pick up are the silent ones, and that perhaps that's a um, call or indication for the dreamer that to think about the messages taught, the lessons taught and unspoken that he may be passing on to his children. Now, the secretary was quite interesting here. Again, named specifically, but the wife is still in the role of wife rather than being an named individual. And the secretary is a kind of in cahoots to a certain extent with the dreamer's wife and children, in that she spots them and she doesn't turn them in or turn them turn them over to security, but tells them to, make themselves scarce before security is called, whether by her or by someone else isn't clear. So, and there are so the secretary shows herself to be sympathetic, but still part of the establishment, and that rules of rules. There are several issues that are highlighted here that intersect. One is schooling in general, perhaps homeschooling, um, practical, experiential learning, as the little toddler was doing, exploring the world by touching everything, and public policy, enforcement of policy, and formal learning are all evoked, or all in this, mixed up in this ball of wax. And there is the fear that this generation, this COVID generation of children, will be a lost one because they're just not getting proper education. But that behooves us to think about what actually proper education is, because perhaps what we've been doing doesn't necessarily doesn't necessarily suit this situation any longer. Something to think about. Now, moving on from there to the third dream, and this was the shortest dream with interesting imagery going on. And the dreamer is having a lucid dream, first of all, which means that the dreamer is aware that they're dreaming. Haven't you ever had a dream like that? I know I have, where I don't know, years ago, was having a nightmare, and I was consciously thinking during this, observing this nightmare, oh, thank God, it's only a dream. So when you're having a lucid dream, some part of you is still conscious and aware that you're in a dream state. So the dreamer is in the dream, is organizing their dreams. And there's a message being delivered in this conscious dream state. The dream starts off where the dreamer is sorting through and filing away their various dreams, but the dreams he was evaluating and filing away suddenly became masks. The dream was about filing away masks. And so the symbolism here, perhaps, for the dreamer is that the dreams are expressions of not only the day-to-day fears and stresses, but is an unmasking or revealing of deeper feelings and emotions that the dreamer may have. And that these dreams converted themselves, or the dream about sorting through dreams becomes a dream about sorting out masks. It shows or indicates rather that the dreamer's dreams are removing masks and smoke screens, and revealing over time the true face of the dreamer. I thought about this, and it's like it took, how many films, the Star Wars films, did it take for Darth Vader to finally be revealed? You could think of them as George Lucas's dreams about this character. And there's something in that we may wear all kinds of masks. I mean, we have our game face, we have our I got to go to work face, our riding the commuter train, and I'm not happy about it face. We will all wear masks for different reasons at different times. But sometimes we get so attached to the mask that we forget about the actual person. and the dreams are means of peeling away those masks that have gotten stuck to our faces. Now, what actually links these three dreams? Well, the one common denominator between the dreams really is uh, the dreamer himself. The dreamer appears in all three dreams, but in the first two isn't as simply as an observer, watching what's going on and not participating, but simply being present and observing. It's only in the final dream that the dreamer is actually taking some action, and and it seems to be an activity where the dreamer is alone, the wife, in quotes, the wife, and children, and the named people, the friend and the secretary, have all disappeared, and the only person left is the dreamer himself. And it is essentially, you could think of all of these three dreams as a movie with or play with three scenes or acts, and the dreamer, who is the lucidly dreaming all of this, is the director, who sees everything that's going on and puts his input in here and there as needed, but generally just watches what goes on. And we could think of movies, of dreams rather, as being the movies of our life. Sometimes we actually are the directors. Other times we let somebody else direct, and that can lead to problems. In any case, there's some things here for the dreamer to think about, in terms of the relationships, because all of the characters, other than the children, are female, and there's maybe different aspects of the dreamer's inner female that is urging connection and relationship in some form, and perhaps that's something for the dreamer to look at, as well as concerns about, perhaps about children and education, and what's happening to them under this lockdown that we're under, and interrupted schooling. So there are several things that the dreamer can perhaps take away and look at, and see where there may be correlations in waking life that need to be addressed. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.